children. Now welcome after the long holidays. Hope you have studied all the previous chapters. Today we will start the chapter 3, that is the human reproduction, and first we will discuss the different topics involved in this. So the different topics are there: microscopic anatomy of the testes and the ovary, gametogenesis, that is the formation of gametes and its types, spermatogenesis and oogenesis, hormonal control of gametogenesis, structure of sperm and mature ovum, menstrual cycle, different phases and hormonal action, menarche and menopause, then the process of fertilization and all the steps involved in this, that is the physicochemical events in this, and implantation and embryo development up to the blastocyst formation, pregnancy and placenta formation, parturition and the lactation process. So first we will start with the male and female primary reproductive organs. Detail of these systems are not in your syllabus this year. So we'll start first with the that primary male reproductive organs in human. So the testes, they are the primary male reproductive organs in the human, where the spermatozoa or sperms and the male sex hormones, that is the testosterone, are produced, and these are held in a pouch like structure that is known as the scrotum, that you have studied in 10th class already, and they remain suspended from the lower abdomen. So now let me discuss the structure of the testes. In adult male, each testis is oval in shape and its length is about 4 to 5 centimeter and width is about 2 to 3 centimeter. Now we'll start the structure of the testes with the outermost covering. So testes are surrounded by the dense covering. So outermost covering is made up of 3 layers. What are the 3 layers? Here we will study the outermost layer, that is known as the tunica vaginalis. This is the outer covering. Then the tunica albuginea, that is the middle covering. This is tunica albuginea. Then the tunica vasculosa. So next is the tunica vasculosa, that is the innermost covering. And this tunica vasculosa, it has the network of very fine capillaries together with the connective tissue. Now we'll see the internal structure of the testes. What does it consist of? So in inner that glandular region of each testis is divided into the 250 small chambers or septa. These septa or the testicular lobules, these are formed by the ingrowth of the tunica albuginea. Now internally, each testicular septum, you can see there are many testicular septum. So internally, each this testicular septum, it contains 1 to 3 small coiled tubules. This small coiled tubules, they are known as the seminiferous tubules. These are about 70 centimeter long when uncoiled and richly supplied with the blood capillaries and the nerve tissues. Now the region outside the seminiferous tubule is filled with the connective tissues, which is containing the interstitial cells of the Leydig cells. So this is the vertical section of the testes I showed you. We will study the transverse section of the testes in order to see the different cells present in it. So this is the transverse section. In the transverse section, we will study here that the germinal epithelium of the testes, it consists of 3 types of cells, mainly 3 types of cells. These cells are the spermatogonia, they are the follicular cells which produce the sperm, then the interstitial cells which are known as the Leydig cells also, and the Sertoli cells. So let me start with the spermatogonia. These spermatogonia, they are the highly specialized cells which undergo spermatogenesis to produce the sperm. So this spermatogonia, they produce or they change into sperm, and these cells are diploid cells and their growth is promoted by the follicular this follicle stimulating hormone, that is FSH, from the pituitary gland at the time of spermatogenesis. These spermatogonia, they divide meiotically and form the sperm. Now next we will see the Leydig cells, which we call them as the interstitial cells also. These are the Leydig cells. These are small rounded cells placed in small groups and scattered between the seminiferous tubules. You can see this is the one seminiferous tubule and this is the another seminiferous tubules. So these Leydig cells, they are scattered between the seminiferous tubules. The growth of these cells is promoted by ICSH, that is interstitial cell stimulating hormone, from pituitary gland. These cells, they produce male hormone, and the male hormone like the testosterone. So the function of the Leydig cell to secrete the testosterone. Now the third type of cells, these are the large cells, and these are present in the seminiferous tubules. So they are present in the seminiferous tubule. They are known as the nurse cells also, or Sertoli cells also. They provide, what is the function of the Sertoli cells? That is, they provide nutrition to the developing spermatids and the sperm. That is why they are named as the nurse cells, and they are the phagocytotic. They phagocytize the dead or injured cells. So Sertoli cells, they produces an important hormone also, that is inhibin, which checks the overactivity of the testosterone. And these Sertoli cells, they also produce estrogen, which are the female hormone, okay, but in very small amount, in trace amounts. So this is the internal structure, transverse section of the testes, showing the seminiferous tubule. Now further, all these seminiferous tubule, further structure we will see here. All these seminiferous tubule, they open into a small network of the fine ductules. There is a small network of the fine ductule. This is known as the retitestes. Now what is the function of this? These retitestes, they serve to collect the sperms from the seminiferous tubules, and from here the sperms, they are passed to the vasa efferentia. So next we will see the vasa efferentia. Where is the vasa efferentia? This structure is the vasa efferentia. They are known as the ductuli efferentes also. They are 10 to 20 small and fine tubules. They collect sperm from the retitestes. So from the retitestes, the sperm, they go to the vasa efferentia, and further it transferred the sperm to the caput region of the epididymis. So let me see the epididymis and its structure. Epididymis, it is a small structure lying on the posterior side of the testis. This is the epididymis. Now it attached to the testis just like a cap. It consists of very long narrow tubule, and which is extensively coiled up behind the testes. Now this epididymis is 6 meter long, and this can be divided into 3 parts. That is the anterior part, that is the caput epididymis, then the middle part, that is the corpus epididymis, and the lower part, that is known as the cauda epididymis. What is the function of the epididymis? It serves to transmit sperm from vasa efferentia to the vasa deferens. So from vasa efferentia, sperm enter into the epididymis, and from epididymis it enters into the vasa deferens. So understood here? So this is the structure of the testes and the various parts and their function. Now next, that part we are going to study, that is the female reproductive part. And in the female reproductive part, you don't have the detailed structure of the different parts. You have only the structure of primary reproductive organs. So what are the primary reproductive organs in the human female? They are the ovary. So the ovaries are the primary reproductive organs in females. They are almond shaped glandular structure and placed in the pelvic cavity, one on each side of the uterus. Now These ovaries are the primary sex organs in the female, and what is their main function? They manufacture female gamete, that is ovum, and also they produce the hormones estrogens and progesterone. Now ovaries are the compact solid structure, and internal that part is known as the ovarian stroma. So it is divided into the outer peripheral cortex. You can see here, this is the cortex region, and here this is the medulla. So inner region, central inner region is the medulla, and outer that region, that is known as the cortex. Now medulla, it contains the spindle shaped fibroblast. Now cortex is further covered by a dense connective tissue that is known as the tunica albuginea. This cortex layer is further covered by this layer that is made up of dense connective tissue, and this layer is known as the tunica albuginea. And there is a single layer of germ cells called germinal epithelium also, that is made up of the simple cuboidal epithelium cell. So this is the germinal epithelium. Now outer to this tunica albuginea, germinal epithelium is present. So these are the outer that layers in the ovary. Now we'll see the structures present in the cortical region. So in the cortical region, ovary contains a large number of immature primary oocytes, each one of which is surrounded by a cluster of nutritive cells. These are known as the follicular cells or granulosa cells. So these are the primary or primordial follicles. Now here each that primary follicle, it consists of a primary oocyte which is diploid. Now here all these follicles, they develop in the embryonic period. No fresh follicle is developed after birth in female. They all develop during the embryonic period. Now in a non-pregnant woman, there of the reproducing age, one of the primordial follicle starts maturation, and it forms the mature follicle that is known as the Graafian follicle. Now it develops once in about every 4 weeks, and this 4-week period, it constitutes ovarian cycle that we called as the menstrual cycle. We will study later on. So let me study the different follicles and their development in the ovary. So here this primordial follicle, here out of them one follicle, it develops into the mature follicle, and this mature follicle is known as the Graafian follicle. So at puberty, each ovary contains about 60,000 to 80,000 primary follicles, and primary follicles remain immature up to the puberty. After puberty, at each menstrual cycle, one of these follicles begins to mature under the effect of FSH, that is follicular stimulating hormone. Now it develops into the secondary follicle, which further develops into the tertiary follicle. This is tertiary follicle, and this tertiary follicle, this is known as the Graafian follicle. This is the mature follicle. It is first reported by the scientist D. Graaf in 1672. As the development of the follicle proceeds, the surrounding granulosa cells, they form the granulosa layers. So let me see the structure of this Graafian follicle in detail. So this is the anatomy of the Graafian follicle. Here in the Graafian follicle, as I said you, that the surrounding granulosa cells, they form the layers. The outermost layer, that is known as the theca externa, and the inner to it, it is known as the theca interna. Inner to theca interna, some spindle shaped cells are also present, and a basement membrane is also there. Now the primary oocyte, here this is the primary oocyte, this is the oocyte here in the center. So this primary oocyte, now surrounded by the thick mucopolysaccharide layer, that is known as the zona pellucida. So it is surrounded by the layers of zona pellucida, and internally further this surrounded by the this is the zona pellucida, and then after zona pellucida further it is surrounded by the corona radiata cells, and this corona radiata cells, they are surrounded by the cumulus oophorus cells. So you can see here the three layers respectively there from inner side to the outer side. So zona pellucida is the first layer, then further after zona pellucida the next layer is the corona radiata, and after corona radiata it is the cumulus oophorus cells. Now here a fluid appears in the granulosa cells which forms a cavity. You can see here a cavity. This cavity is known as the antrum, and this is a fluid filled cavity, and the fluid which is present in it, that is known as the antral fluid or the liquor folliculi. So the fluid present in this cavity antrum, formed by the cavity, it is formed by the granulosa cells. At this stage fluid filled follicle, this is known as the tertiary follicle or the Graafian follicle. The fluid and the cavity, they separate the primary oocyte from the surrounding granulosa layer, because granulosa layer is the outside, and here the oocyte is here in the center. Now primary oocyte here, it is still diploid, because after this it will go, when the development takes place, it will go undergo the division. That primary oocyte, it undergoes first meiotic division resulting in the formation of the haploid secondary oocyte, and then after it develops there the second meiotic division, it does not occur until the fertilization. So that we will discuss in the gametogenesis. Now this mature Graafian follicle is 2.5 centimeter in diameter, and in the middle of ovarian cycle, means about that 14 days after the start of the menstrual bleeding, here it ruptures and releases that secondary oocyte which is released from the ovary. So the mature Graafian follicle has the secondary oocyte. So the release of this mature here, that here the oocyte, that there is a secondary oocyte. This secondary oocyte is released from this mature follicle, and this process is known as the ovulation, that you have studied in the previous classes also, that the release of egg or ovum from the Graafian follicle, this is known as the ovulation. Now at the time of ovulation, the ovum is in the secondary oocyte condition. First year the ovum was in the primary oocyte condition was there, and after first meiotic division now it has changed into the secondary oocyte. Now after ovulation, what happens? When the ovulation takes place, ovum is released, then the remaining of the Graafian follicle, they develop into an important that is structure, and that important structure, that is the endocrine gland, and that is known as the corpus luteum. So corpus luteum is the post ovulatory follicle, while the Graafian follicle is the pre-ovulatory follicle. Now the granulosa cells of the ruptured Graafian follicle, they increase in number and become yellow in color, and these are now known as the lutein cells, and the interior of the corpus luteum now become highly vascular, richly supplied with the blood capillaries. Now what is the function of this corpus luteum? That in the normal course, when the released egg is not fertilized, suppose the egg is not fertilized, then the corpus luteum grows for days and secretes another very important hormone, that is the progesterone. Now after about 9 days of its formation, that is the 23rd day of the ovarian cycle, it begins to degenerate. If there is no fertilization, then this corpus luteum undergoes degeneration and reduced to the small structure after degeneration, that is known as the corpus albicans, which is finally degenerated by the 28th day of ovarian cycle. So understood that the various follicles here and their function. Now suppose if fertilization occurs, then the corpus luteum, it does not degenerate, and instead it grows continuously and produces progesterone, which is necessary to start the pregnancy. So what are the functions of the ovary? There are main three functions, that production of ovum, production of estrogens, and production of progesterone. So this is the anatomy of the ovary and its different structure. Now we will study the gametogenesis. What is gametogenesis? Gametogenesis is the process of formation of gametes. As I explained you here, that primary reproductive organs, they form gametes. So formation of gametes, this is known as the gametogenesis. And what are gametes? Gametes are the reproductive haploid cells. They are produced by the male and female primary sex organs by using meiosis, and they are produced by the when these gametes are produced by the male, then they are the sperm, and when they are produced by the female, they are known as the ovum. And the formation of male gamete, this is known as the spermatogenesis, and formation of female gamete, this is known as the oogenesis. Male gametes termed as sperm and female gamete as the ovum. So today we will study the first process in the gametogenesis, that is the spermatogenesis. What is spermatogenesis? Formation of male gamete, that is sperms, is called the spermatogenesis. Where does it take place? It takes place in the testes, which are the primary male sex organs, under the influence of FSH hormone. And FSH hormone is secreted from the pituitary gland. Now the spermatogenesis in human male starts occurring with the onset of puberty, and it continues throughout the life. What are the steps involved in it? There are two steps involved in the spermatogenesis. The first step is the formation of spermatids. This process further involves the three phases: the multiplicative phase, growth phase, and maturation phase. So that we will study in detail. So first process, that first step, formation of spermatids, and the second step is there, that is the formation of sperms from the spermatids. This process is known as the spermiogenesis. So let me study this in detail with the help of the diagram. So this is the diagram showing the stages, the mechanism of the spermatogenesis. So first we will start by the first step, that is the formation of spermatids. Here spermatid, it involves the first phase, that is the multiplicative phase. Now what happens in the multiplicative phase? The germinal epithelium of the seminiferous tubules of the testes contain many primordial germ cells, and they undergo continuous mitosis under the influence of FSH, and these are the diploid cells. Now some of these cells, they keep on dividing again and again, and while others, they stop division. So the cells which stop division and further, they act as the sperm mother cell, or we call them as the spermatogonia. So this is the spermatogonium shown here. So these cells which further does not undergo the mitosis, now they are known as the spermatogonia. Now these spermatogonia, they enter into the growth phase. So each the spermatogonium, it absorbs a large amount of nutrition. It becomes larger in size, and now this cells which becomes larger in size, this is known as the primary spermatocyte. Primary spermatocyte, and this is diploid. You can see here the number of chromosome here, the diploid 2n condition, that is 46 chromosome. So this primary spermatocyte, further after growth, it enters into the maturation phase. Now this phase is characterized by the meiosis. So each primary spermatocyte undergoes meiosis. First meiotic division, it forms two equal haploid cells. Okay, this is first meiosis. Primary spermatocyte, it undergoes first meiosis there, and then it forms two equal size of secondary spermatocytes. Okay, here you remember that the primary spermatocyte is diploid, and the secondary, here the primary spermatocyte is the diploid, and the secondary spermatocyte, it is the haploid cell. Now each secondary spermatocyte, there are two spermatocytes, secondary spermatocyte. So each secondary spermatocyte further undergoes the second meiotic division, and then it forms the 4 round haploid cells. 4 round haploid cells means each secondary spermatocyte form 2 that further haploid cells. So there are in all 4 round and haploid cells are there. These are termed as spermatids, and spermatids, they are haploid. Remember, primary spermatocytes, they are diploid, secondary spermatocytes, they are haploid, and spermatids, they are also haploid cells. Now these 4 spermatids further they develop into the sperm by the process of spermiogenesis. So let me see what are the different steps followed in the spermiation or spermiogenesis. So in the spermiogenesis, that is the transformation of spermatid into the sperm. Understood, children? This is the spermatid. This spermatid transforms into the sperm. So spermatids, when they transform into the sperms, this process is known as the spermiogenesis. So let me see further. During this process, what happens? The Golgi complex of the spermatid, this is spermatid. So here the Golgi apparatus of the spermatid, this gives rise to the acrosome. It forms the acrosome. Acrosome is the anterior tip of the sperm that contains an enzyme that is known as the hyaluronidase. Now further there is increase in the mitochondria also. So number of the mitochondria also increase in the middle piece, and then centriole also divide. So each cell that contains the centriole also. So centriole also divide here. These are the mitochondria, they divide and form the middle piece, and the centriole, it divides into 2 parts, form a proximal and the distal centriole. The proximal, that centriole further develops, and in this portion, and distal is the just before the neck region. I will show you in the next diagram the position of this. Now here distal centriole, it gives rise axial filaments which form the tail region. Okay, and further with these changes, each spermatid develops into the sperm. So further each spermatid develops into the sperm, and in this way from each spermatogonium, how many that is sperms are there? That from primary spermatocyte, 1 primary spermatocyte, 4 sperms are formed, and each sperm further has the 3 that region, that is head region, middle piece, and the tail region. So after spermiogenesis, the sperm heads become embedded into the Sertoli cells to obtain the nutrition. So it obtains the nutrition from its head region by embedding itself in the Sertoli cells, and finally sperms they release from the seminiferous tubule. So release of the sperm from the seminiferous tubule, this is known as the spermiation. Understood, children? So this is spermiogenesis. Now we'll study the structure of sperm in detail. The sperm is the male gamete which is produced in the testes as the result of the spermatogenesis. It is motile structure, it moves. Now further, what are the different parts of the sperm? Let me study. These sperms, they remain alive and fertile for a long period, at least 3 to 4 months in the male genital tract. Now the structure of the sperm, that sperm of the human is about 60 mm long. It consists of head region, then the middle piece, and the vibratile tail, that is known as the flagellum also. Now what are the structure present in the head region that we study? So anterior that part of the head region, it is slightly conical in the shape, appearance, and it contains the male pronucleus and an acrosome. So this is the acrosome region. Nucleus, when we see, this is the long and ovoid structure. This nucleus has the set of chromosome on the, means that is the single set haploid, that set of chromosome, and on the basis of chromosomal content in the nucleus, sperms are of two types: those which carry autosomes and Y chromosome, one type, and those which carry autosomes and X chromosome. Now this acrosome, which is the interior most tip of the that head region, it is formed by the Golgi body, we have studied already, and it contains an enzyme which is known as the hyaluronidase, which helps to dissolve the wall of the ovum during the fertilization. So this hyaluronidase, it is released from this acrosome part, and then further it dissolves the wall of the ovum during fertilization, and it facilitates the entry of sperm into the ovum. Then we will come to the middle piece. Middle piece, just posterior to head, there is a small region with a constricted neck. It contains two centrioles, as already I explained you. The two centrioles are there, that is, one is the anterior and the another is the posterior. Anterior centriole, which is the here present, that is the proximal centriole. Its role is in the zygotic cleavage. Then the posterior, that is the distal centriole is there. This distal centriole, it forms the axial filaments. Okay, that is, you can see here this axial filament here forming the axoneme. So this is the middle piece. Middle piece also has a long and thick portion and provide a passage for the axial filament. Here you can see in the middle piece that there is a passage for the axial filament to reach the tail region. Now various mitochondria together form, you can see these are the mitochondria in the middle piece. So these mitochondria in the middle piece, they form a round and coiled sheath around the axial filaments. And what is the role of this that the mitochondria? To generate energy for the movement of sperm. Now the posterior part. So posterior part, posteriorly the middle piece contains the ring like structure, and that is the centriole and the annulus here. Further, that the tail region, that is the flagellum, posterior part of the sperm, it is longer than the head in the middle piece. And tail is the locomotory, that organ of the sperm, internally contains the bunch of the axial filament. These are present, responsible for the movement of the tail, and the tail of the sperm helps in the swimming and the locomotion. So this is the ultrastructure of the sperm. And hormonal control of spermatogenesis, as I explained you already along with the process, so let me revise it once. The two hormones FSH and LH, which are secreted from the pituitary gland, they are gonadotropin hormone, and they directly influence the process of the spermatogenesis. They trigger spermatogenesis, responsible for the growth of spermatogonia and the promote the division. Then the FSH influences growth of spermatogonia, promotes division. Then the LH, luteinizing hormone, it stimulates the Leydig cells to secrete the testosterone, and of course testosterone also promotes the spermatogenesis. And one more hormone, that is inhibin, secreted by the Sertoli cells, may inhibit the secretion of the testosterone there, and to inhibit the process of spermatogenesis, that is by the feedback mechanism. What is the significance? Means importance. It gives rise to the male gamete, means formation of male gamete, which are essential for the fertilization. And from one spermatogonium, 4 sperms are formed, and spermatogenesis reduces the number of chromosomes to the half of the number in spermatogonia. So during the fertilization, the normal chromosome number of the species is restored as the haploid cells are formed, haploid sperms are formed. So understood, children? Revise it and these are the key terms: seminiferous tubules, spermatogonia, Leydig cells, Sertoli cells, primary oocyte. Then the secondary oocyte we have studied, Graafian follicle, that is corpus luteum, corpus albicans. So all these terms you revise and then ask your doubt.